Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Messi Co. I'm Ashley here, as always, with my incredible co-host Gian, and it is Monday. It's it's a little after 6 p.m., but I have to be honest, it feels much earlier. Why? Because we had daylight savings time, and now it's beautiful and sunny outside. And to me, that just signals the beginning of spring, and we're getting into summer and the real meat of the MLS season. So I'm excited about it. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. Same. It is actually sunshine outside, so I love that. I love it. It honestly makes my day feel longer, like in a good sense.
Totally.
I feel like I can get more done. So now I step out and there's still sun. I can take my dog for a walk and it's not dark outside. And yeah, I agree. This is a time of the year where you're gonna get a lot of football. We're starting to roll into the meat and potatoes of the MLS season. It's exciting. So yeah, I'm happy to be here, happy to talk into Miami, and I'm happy there's sun outside.
Love it, 100%. Yeah, there's lots of things to talk about. I mean, since we had our episode last week, a lot has happened, both on and off the field for Inter Miami, which we'll definitely get to. Really quick though, before we even get into Inter Miami and Messi, just because we're South Floridians and I see you wearing a teal hat, Tua, no longer a Miami Dolphin. What are your thoughts? Malik Willis now the new starting quarterback. A lot of people probably listening are like, "What are you talking about?" But just really quick, Tua never got to be what we wanted him to be. Had some tough breaks, I have to say for him.
All I'm gonna say is Five Reasons Sports a few years ago was selling tank for Tua shirts. I wonder if anybody's gonna
God,
ask for a refund. But no, I had
honestly,
a feeling. I had a feeling that was gonna happen. That wasn't
yeah.
surprising, honestly. And look, I thought he was good at some points. He just wasn't consistent enough, and he didn't have enough playing time because of all the injuries and concussions and all that stuff. So at the end of the day, the end of a saga. It's time for this team to move forward. Do I have any confidence that they will do anything? Right? I have no confidence in them. I
No.
wish Jorge Mas was in charge of that team, and I wish they had the same front office as Inter Miami, who makes all the right decisions, who hires the
Mhm.
right people, who gets the right players on the field. They like every team makes errors, but Inter Miami knows how to get it done. And I wish they were running their Dolphin show as well, but unfortunately, that's not the case.
Yeah. No, agreed. Maybe we'll do an one. I don't think we'll ever do an NFL episode, but once the season gets here, maybe we'll talk about it more because we love all Miami sports. Miami Heat are about to be in the playoffs. I mean, Inter Miami, obviously the star of the show, but we
Don't
just
jinx
love
this yet,
sports.
though. Don't say the Heat are going to be in the play. You're
Okay,
speaking
you're
too
jinxing
early. Don't jinx it.
it. Okay.
We're close. We're
No,
close.
no, you're
Believe
right.
me.
You're right. Well, okay, getting back into the Inter Miami gear then, well, of course, we're very happy to be here. Of course, as always, what's up, Ash? Claudia saying the titles are very important. Inter Miami titles? What titles are we talking about? There's lots of titles to go around. Um, but I agree. There's the titles are important, and right now, Inter Miami are the reigning MLS Cup champions, and about to enter another very important competition, which we're going to talk about later. The Champions Cup, which I think is something that the team is we are ready to see move further than normal. So, but before we get into all that, let's start at the top, which is, of course, most importantly, Inter Miami win against DC United this past Saturday, 2-1, at a packed Baltimore Ravens stadium. Speaking of NFL, like we said again, I mean it's a theme, but in these first three matches, MLS are doing a good job of setting some pretty big stages for fans to watch, and obviously Messi being the main attractor, which has been great. The game, I think, had its ups and downs, but, you know, Inter Miami get the win, are now 2-1 in the season, able to score a few more goals. Before we kinda talk about I would say probably down parts of the game or maybe the things that we're kind of looking at and saying, "Oh, these are things that need to be switched and changed with that second half performance." I wanna start with the positives, which is that we saw an absolute great goal from Rodrigo de Paul, and I think he's been a bright spot of these first 3 games, along with speaking of bright, Yannick Bright, both have been absolutely great. And then Messi scores another, excellent goal, gets a great chip. It looks easy for him, not easy really for anyone else. But starting with the positives, those are things we wanna see, right, to start the season. You wanna see your 2 of your best players scoring, creating, being the meat and we keep saying the meat and potatoes of this Inter Miami team.
Yeah, well, am I on mute? No, okay. Yeah, most definitely. I think this team looked good in the first half. The second half, not so much. I think it's a team that as the season goes along, they'll start to look a bit more consistent, especially in the attack. That's kind of where I've been a bit more concerned with. But yeah, I mean, Rodrigo de Paul did amazing. He had a goal in the 17th minute, and then Lionel Messi, the minute 27. The two guys that this team is going to depend on a lot, I think, probably the most this season. Those are going to be the two top guys on the team. De Paul just continues to get better and better every game. He continues to improve season over season, and he's the all-star caliber player that you hoped you were getting last season that you didn't really see until maybe later on in MLS Cup, right? So that's it's something that you love to
$18 million
see, and
player.
it's exactly, and now you can see why this team exercised the option to buy, which again we all knew that was going to happen. And then Lionel Messi, that ages like fine wine, every season continues to get better. Every blow of the birthday candle, he seems to just continue getting better and better, and that was
Like
just an
unfair.
amazing goal. Yeah, no, it's amazing. I mean, I don't know if I mean, we could probably get into it, but the first half to me, I thought Inter Miami came out looking really, really good. Really, really good. On the attacking side, they looked a lot more cohesive. They looked like they were playing together. The passes that were being made were connecting. The team looked really good. Um, I actually want, and I was talking to you, Ash, before we got on the show. There was something, guys, I was working on, so I want to share that if it's okay with you, Ash, really quick,
Yeah.
because I thought it'd be cool to kind of visualize a little bit of what was going on with this team, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and bring this up really quick here. Let me see, is it this
Sorry,
one?
his hair that is so out of that I keep looking at as out of place, so
No, it's
ignore
okay.
please. Sorry, okay.
Yeah, so I I've been getting into coding a bit, and I actually made this app that I thought would be cool to kind of visualize what this team looked like, right, as we started the game. So let's kind of look
He's
at the
not
lineup.
just a
I
pretty
thought that'd be
face.
interesting.
He's not
Huh?
just a pretty face.
Exactly. There's something going on up here. So I just wanted to show you. So let's go ahead and start off with the goalkeeper. Well, actually, I already started here with Mikael, but let's go ahead and take him off, or leave him on there. So basically, Dane St. Clair, we had him in the goal as a goalkeeper to start off the match. We had Mikael at. Well, I'm gonna put him over here actually. Mikael as your center back right here next to. We had Falcon. So let's go ahead and look for Falcon here. Oh, we had Maxi Falcon right here as your right back. We didn't have Ian Frey again for a second time, back-to-back games where he's on the bench. We went
Yep.
ahead and had Facundo Mura in there, who I think we really thought was going to be the starter anyways. Going in, I
Yeah.
know some people thought there was going to be more of a competition between Mura and Ian Frey, because Ian Frey did very well last season, but Facundo Mura ended up being the guy that's been getting the
Mhm.
starting spot. And then on the left, obviously, no Jordi Alba anymore. So Noah Allen has since moved from that center back position and started playing as a left back. I want to talk a little bit about his role as well and what that's kind of looked like so far, and how he compares as far as the runs and that sort of thing with Jordi Alba. As far as our two midfielders, I think this is the place where we feel the most comfortable and we
Yep.
feel at ease, because of the fact that, again, we have now Yannick Bright on that left side, and then we have Rodrigo de Paul on that right side, who we said Rodrigo de Paul absolutely just been playing amazing, and Yannick Bright, I mean, a complete
Not a great, it's
destroyer in the midfield.
outstanding. It's really
No, he's
amazing.
no, isn't it? It's just
It really is
absolutely
amazing.
incredible. Telasco Segovia started on this one, and we'll go ahead and put him here right in the middle, right in front of Yannick Bright and Rodrigo de
Mhm.
Paul. On that left side, we had, starting this game, we had Matteo Silvetti. It's become a trend now. It's so far, again, early on in the season, 3 games, you tend to see Matteo Silvetti more than Tadeo Allende. Tadeo Allende coming into the second half. Part of that is still
Mhm.
because he is nursing an injury. They're still trying to work him in. Tadeo Allende, we know, is a guy that's going to be starting more often than not. I mean, that's the
Yeah.
way it's going to work. The guy that scored the most goals in MLS history in playoffs is, he's going to start. So, but in this case, Silvetti started this game against DC United. On the right, we had Lionel Messi, and in the middle, we had Germán Berterame. So here's the reason why I built this, because I thought this would be the easiest way to show you guys tactically what this team looked like. So on the field, to start off, this is what it looks like. But how did Macherano make this team operate as soon as the whistle blew in attack? And I thought that this was interesting because it's very apparent how he wants this team to work. As soon as the whistle blows, you see Berterame play in the middle. But if you notice, and especially if you've looked at some of the heat maps in FOTMob and other places, he plays a little bit to the left of the middle, not necessarily right
Yeah.
down the middle, a little bit left of the middle. Then
Leaving
what
space
happens?
for Messi, yeah.
Exactly. That's a great point, Ash. Great point, because Messi, we know that he floats around everywhere, but he's taking a lot of that central space along with Berterame. So we can even move Messi a little higher up. Silvetti playing out wide. If you look at his heat map, it is red. It looks like a hurricane, like how red it is.
Yeah,
Like it is, he's playing far out left. Segovia plays in the middle. And then you have, this is what I think is interesting. Mura then comes up really
yeah,
high up, and he's basically the right winger, especially when Tadeo Allende isn't in that. And that changes in the second half, which is
yeah.
something that we'll talk about too. But in the first half, Mura basically plays as the right winger, and then everybody in that back line shifts over to the right. You have
So it's like a back
Falcon,
3, yeah.
exactly like a back three, Mikal in the middle with no Allen on the left. And then what actually ends up happening here, especially when we're talking about in the attack, Yannick Bright will anchor, but then Rodrigo de Paul, you basically have this. This is what this team looks like on attack. You have
Mhm.
the back three with Mikael, Allen, and Falcon. You have Yannick Bright anchoring the middle, destroying everything that comes through there, and then helping support the back line as they come out. And that ball will either go to Segovia or Rodrigo de Paul. You have your two wings, and then Messi and Berterame in there. I think that this has worked well in that second half. Thing is with Berterame, unfortunately, there are times where the space does get clogged up for him. Why? Because there are times where his space will get clogged in with Segovia, who makes a run down the middle between
Yeah.
Messi and Berterame. So a lot of times you'll see this. And then Berterame, if you've noticed, look at most of the plays that he's made. That's come
On the
with
lo
when
Yep.
he's playing out wide. We saw where he stole the ball here a couple of times. He had a play where he made another pass from about this area. So
Mhm.
he's actually playing a lot more left at times, and I thought that that's interesting. So we'll get back to that in a second. I'll show a few more plays. But what do you think about how Inter Miami has tactically been looking like, especially in that first half? Then we can go into the second half. But that first
Yeah.
half, kind of with what I explained, like what do you see there? We had two goals. Do you like what you see that first half from an attack perspective?
Yeah, well, first of all, that was really cool what you made, and thank you for making that. I think that's really cool to visualize it and be able to see, what we're watching in real time and being able to kind of, like, look at it from a bird's eye view, so that was really awesome. Um, yeah, so, well, I really liked what we did in the first half. I think the team was looking incredibly cohesive, like we said. We were texting back and forth about it. The passing was good, the action was good, and we were attacking and creating a lot of good momentum and chances. I think part of that is due to like individual brilliance more so than I would say tactical like mastery. I think that Inter Miami are still kind of figuring out what the spacing is gonna look like and defensively who's gonna go up and down. Like, for example, I didn't think Mura was that impactful in this game. I think, I don't think Segovia was super, super impactful in this game. Still, had a positive first half, but in my opinion, some of the spacing and in the end, like, I think the goals we scored was because first of all, we had incredible play from, why am I just blanking on his name on the left side of our the young
Silvetti.
art thank you, I don't know why I just blanked on it. Yeah, like, Matteo Salvetti, absolute amazing, like, movement, spacing, explosiveness, creation, puts in that perfect pass for Messi. Messi chips the ball, it's no problem. Rodrigo de Paul gets it, spacing and gets an excellent shot on goal. That it takes, I think, good players to score that goal. It doesn't just happen out of, like luck. He's really talented. A couple other really bright spots for me. Again, Yannick Bright is absolutely outstanding, creates amazing spacing defensively, offensively, whatever you need from him. He's great. I think Dane St. Clair, after was a very rocky first game and a half, I thought he was good. He was perfectly solid, and maybe we kinda go back and forth on it if should it happen, like, was it worth it in putting him in the place of Rios Novos? We'll never know because the Inter Miami have made that change. All we can hope for and say is, is he gonna be positive? Is he gonna stop goals? Is he gonna clear balls? Is he gonna hold the back line? So he did that in this game, worked for me. Um, Maxi Falcone, excellent. Lionel Messi, excellent. Berterame, let's talk about him for a second. Like, yeah, he hasn't scored yet, but in 2 games in a row, games in a row had direct goal contributions that were 2 excellent assists out of 2 really good moves, and that's great to see. So, all those positive things I'm gonna take from the first half and say the individual players that Inter Miami have that are on the pitch are making a positive impact, and that's what you really wanna see. What happens after and what's happening tactically, I think is something that, like, we can look into further, but my initial thoughts was that I'm really happy that the players that we want to be really good and are, the best in their position, the best in the league, the best in the world are doing their job.
Yeah, look, I agree. I'll tell you what I agree with and what I don't agree with what you said. I agree that Mura hasn't been as impactful, and I thought that was interesting just because of the fact that that Mascherano wants to make him part of this attack. It's very clear. He's making him play as another winger, especially when he's starting Silvetti on the right. It's Silvetti on the right and Mura on the Silvetti on the left and Mura on the right. He wants him to be a part of that. He needs
Offense,
that.
yeah.
He needs somebody, and I think he was hoping that Mura would do this, is the ability to pass out wide with Mura and then Mura be able to center or connect with Messi or connect with Berterame. And I don't know, for one reason or another, maybe it's the chemistry, maybe it's them trying to become familiar with Mura's game to be able to trust him with the ball more. But there are times where I see him open and Messi has the ball and he'll defer to somebody else as opposed
Yeah.
to giving Mura the ball. I've seen that many times. And there are times where I guess there's a validation to it as well, because I've seen Mura have the ball and just not take care of it at times. We're 3 games into the season. The amount of errors that he's had in 3 games, I don't think is warranted, and I think he needs to do a better job. And I think that if he does a better job taking care of the ball, then maybe he'll get the ball more often. But that's where the big issue is. You're going to need somebody on that right side to create. I know Ian Frey has been very good at that in the past. We'll have to see. I think that if Mura doesn't help more on the offensive side, get more passes from and earn the trust of players like De Paul, like Messi, who are ones that would make that pass to him. If we don't see that within the next few games, we may see
Yeah.
Mascherano lean more towards an Ian Frey. Now, as far as Segovia is concerned, I'll say I'll disagree with you there. Segovia to me has been very impactful. I think that as we've seen him being played in the correct spots, I've seen more of an impact from him. I believe in the LAFC game, he was playing more on the left side, more as a winger at times, and it just didn't make sense. Segovia is not that type of player. He's not the type of guy that can create his own space like Silvetti. He's the type of guy that needs to play a more central role. And
He was better centrally for sure.
as you've seen him against Orlando City, as you've seen him now against DC United play a more central role, I think he's begun to flourish. He scored against Orlando. He had an assist now against DC. I believe he had how many goals did he score against Orlando? Was it 1 or 2?
2.
It was 2 goals and an assist, if I'm not
Right.
mistaken. He had 2 goals and an assist
Yeah.
against Orlando. He now comes back and has an assist in the goal. I believe he made that pass to De Paul,
Yeah.
who scored that goal. So to me, he's been very impactful. I actually want to do the research. I should have done it before this episode, but I'd love to see who the next guy that is covering more on the field, more mileage and
Yeah.
being more around aside from the ball. We know the ball is probably number 1 right now. I wouldn't be surprised if it's Segovia. Segovia is covering an insane amount of speed, so a ground rather. So I love what Segovia has done. I want to talk a little bit about Berterame because I think that's the big talking point here.
Mhm.
Berterame was a guy again that scored the most. He was the Mexican. Let me see if I get this right. He was the Mexican striker in Liga MX last season who had the most goals in all of Liga MX across all competitions. It was, I believe, it was
Yeah,
28, something like that.
yeah,
And they paid a good amount of money. He's a DP on this team. He's expected to score goals. He was brought on to score goals. He was not brought on to do what he's done in these first 3 games, which
mhm,
I will, you know, say that even though he hasn't scored goals, he's found a way to be impactful, and that's what you'd love to see. The days that a forward can't score goals every day, he's not going to score goals every game. But the
mhm,
games where he doesn't, he has to find a way to be impactful. He's found a way to be impactful, but you paid him to score goals. And I believe that part of it is him, but part of it is also he has guys like Segovia, like Messi, like Allende when he comes in the second half that take up the spaces that he's used to
yeah,
having. So I think that that's been an issue with him. And I did some quick research. He only has 3 shots in 3 games. 2 of those 3 shots have, quote unquote, shots have been headers. They haven't even actually been shots. I mean, they've
yeah,
been on target, all of them, but from your central forward, the guy that's supposed to be the reference point in your attack, 3 shots in 3 games, two of which were headers, are really unacceptable. So I think over the next few games, you really are going to need him to lock in. You say the season is early, but we're getting into Champions Cup. The first game
yeah.
is around the corner. I believe it's the 18th. This
No, it's
team
Wednesday. It's away in
is
Nashville this Wednesday in 2 days.
okay. So exactly. So we've have
Right.
that one, and then I believe the 18th is the second
Home
game,
game, yeah.
a return home game. You have enough time when it comes to MLS, but this team has to win the Champions Cup, and you're going to need a plugged-in scoring Berterame. So there's a lot of work to be done in that aspect. But I was happy with what this team looked like in the first half. So
Yeah, yeah, I mean, I agree, I guess. I think we're gonna have to, like, chalk it up to the time and the spacing. I think that right now, Inter Miami, like I said, we saw a few moments of brilliance from players, like Bertarame has not been able to get into the spaces that he normally would, get as many shots on goal and touches that he definitely needs to improve on, but the few times he's getting the ball in these past 2 games, he made a great play, and that's to your point, like we said, with Luis Suarez last year, when obviously the goal scoring went down, the benefit we had with him was that he was still doing some good playmaking. Now I think you're still seeing the good playmaking, but you're seeing a player who is obviously strong and moving back and forth, covering a lot of ground, helping out defensively. We definitely need to see more shots on goal. We need to see goals come from him. But I'm gonna be again glass half full. At least do something. If you're gonna be on the field, do something, and he has. So you have to gain confidence and momentum some way, right? So if you're getting 2 assists in 2 matches, that's a good start. Um, Hopefully it'll kind of work out. I think this was a good comment because I think we kind of both touched on it, but part of what I think has been, you know, an issue that we definitely saw exacerbated in the second half is that if Messi is gonna play as the right wing back or what excuse me, right winger, which, Messi kind of plays everywhere and rightfully so, he's the greatest player of all time and he scores and he does everything magically and he can do whatever he wants. But if you're gonna do that, then Mura has to be able to cover the areas that are needed when Messi covers those areas, right? Like, it needs to be able to be kind of, like, reactive and fill in the spaces so that you see more even distribution throughout the pitch and that you see other players being able to whether it's a player on the outside being able to get a ball in, if it's tracking back defensively, if it's creating space for Messi or, uh, you know, Allende or whoever's playing to be able Savetti be able to get in those spaces, Bertarame able to get into those spaces and create goals, then that's what you do, and I think with Ian Frey, we were kind of used to, for the most part, him being able to know when to go forward, when to be back, and to, like, be where is needed. I think with Mura, we're seeing him not know exactly when to go forward and when to go back, and in my opinion, honestly, going too forward and taking up too much space where in the end he's really not creating, and you said it earlier, Messi's not really giving the ball to him and as much because in the few times he had previously, he really wasn't making enough out of it. I remember in the first game against LAFC, as I listen obviously to the English commentary, and Taylor Twellman, who's comments on a lot of Inter Miami games, he said like, for Mura, it had been 4 or 5 passes in a row where he couldn't get past the first defender that was covering him, like, the first defender would block every time he tried to get across it, and he's like, "You gotta get past the first defender." Like, you can't always pinpoint it perfectly, but you have to get over the first defender, get the ball in the box, get it in a dangerous area, make players have to block it and get rebounds, etcetera, right? And I think that's what we haven't been able to see, and so Messi, I think, has been, um, not overcompensating, but, like, trying to cover not only kind of the center and the positions he goes to, but also a lot on the right, and I think in his own way, trying to stay out of Bertarame's way or wanting to give Bertarame a chance to score, because he knows what the value is in having a good
Look,
striker, so I think it's kinda been a little, I don't know,
I
like,
want to show you
not
something
altogether.
on that note. I want to
Does
show
that
you
make
something on
sense?
that. Yeah, no, it does. I want to show you something on that note. You see the heat map right
Yeah,
here? This is Messi's heat map versus DC
yeah.
United. You can see he
Look at all
plays
the
more
right,
central.
yeah,
He plays more central.
yeah.
This right, when you see this right, this is where he's getting the ball, but Mura is usually in front.
Ahead of him, right, yeah.
So what he does is this red is simply him receiving the ball here. He's often waiting for the ball, and then he heads middle. So he's not really taking up. When you say right wing, he's not really playing right wing. This is what he's doing. Usually you'll have the ball here. You have Messi here. Messi is floating. He floats like this. This is where he floats right here in
Yeah.
this area. He gets the ball here, and Mura's either here or here. And what usually happens is Messi starts once he gets the ball. It's like it'll be Falcon or it'll be Bright or the ball give him the ball. He floats in, and then Mura heads out wide. But what ends up happening is he hardly ever plays the ball to Mura on that right side,
Yeah.
and he'll play the ball again to Berterame or to Segovia, or he'll have Selveti out wide. What he'll do too a lot of times is he'll just float in between them and then
Mhm.
try to find one of them up here like that. So that's something. It's not that Mura is taking up Messi's space or anything like that. I just think that they're just not trusting him right now at this point. I
They're
think that's
not
the bigger issue, and that may be in part because they don't know his game as well. That may be in
yeah.
part against what I said previously, just the fact that he's just not been the best on ball. So we'll have to see what happens with that. You want to go into the second half?
Yeah, let's talk about the second half.
All right. So the second half, let me just show the changes really quick. So what happened here? The second half is a little different. Then obviously we have Berterame here, we have Serveti here, we have Mura here, and then you can you can see you have Segovia here in the middle. So in the second half, what he actually did was interesting. He Macerano actually took out Silvetti and he brought in Tadeo Allende. So he puts Tadeo in, and he actually moves Allende to the right.
Yeah.
Mura comes down because Mura can't be in Tadeo Allende. Tadeo Allende actually plays on the right. If you look at his heat map, he's all on the right. And that is then Segovia. This is interesting. Bertrame went even more to the left, and
Mhm.
Segovia started playing a lot more centrally. So this is basically what you saw. You had the ball up here, you had Messi floating here at times here, and you had Segovia here. So this is what it looked like in the second half. Allende, Messi, Berterame here, and then Segovia. He didn't. But this is what I loved, that even though you didn't have Silvetti anymore on that left side, you had Berterame who actually moved more to the left. Segovia didn't go and play a position that he doesn't know how to play. He actually made more runs. And so in this first half, he was making runs on this side. Second half, he started making more runs right here in the middle. If you look at it, and I think that was good from Segovia. The only issue was in the second half, I'll say. In the second half, Inter Miami, I don't know if they were just too confident and knowing that they were on top and they were kind of manhandling DC United. They had possession of the ball. They had 60 something percent possession, but they let DC United back in the game, and DC United scored. I believe it was in the 70 what minute? Let's see. DC United scores in
3rd, maybe?
let me see. I'm looking it up right now. DC United scored in the 75th minute
And
by Ty Baribo. He scores in the 72nd, 75th minute, and that's where it got a little scary because Inter Miami just wasn't doing as much as they were in that first half. And it may just be, sometimes they just get overconfident, and I think that that's what happened for Inter Miami. I also think that you didn't have anything on that left side, right? You didn't have anything other. I mean, that's not Berterame's position. That's not where he
yeah,
plays. Noah Allen really doesn't offer anything on that end. So I think that really, that's where Inter Miami attacks most. It's mostly on that left side through Silvetti. So once you lost him, it just didn't work out as well. Ash, do you remember that one chance that they had where Berterame had the ball off of a counter and you had, I believe it was Messi and Tadeo Allende, I think it was Mura and Tadeo Allende running down the middle of the field, and Berterame had that pass that would have left them open alone, and it got deflected. That was the biggest chance I believe that they had
yeah.
in that second half, and that would have changed the game as well.
Outside the Paul at the end where he
Paul.
missed an open
Yeah.
goal,
So, I
yeah.
mean, they had two opportunities that were
Mhm.
kind of clear, but they didn't play necessarily like they played in that first half, and it ended up being a lot closer and not as comfortable as you wanted it to be.
Agreed. Yeah, I really quickly, I wanna put this in case 'cause if can you put the thing back on the field where you put the positions? Because I wanted to say, like, the question here, can Inter Miami be dominant for the full 90 minutes? Because and I would like to hear in the comments what you guys think. Obviously, we saw, the changes that you said. With Segovia, I know you said it in a positive way, he didn't try to play a different position and he did what he could do and move back and forth. The problem with that for me, and it's not a knock on Segovia, by the way, is that now you have, if you see right there, you have Segovia, you have Messi, and really you have Berterame, who are all now fighting, and even Rodrigo de Paul, because he's just trying to make things happen, all fighting for these little like this 10 yards of space in the attacking part of the field, right? Like right outside the 18-yard box. When you do this and you don't have Silvetti on the left anymore and you bring in Allende and Mura goes back, well, Segovia doesn't, like you said, automatically go to the left side because it's not as comfortable position. Well, when you do that though, now you're having multiple players basically taking up the same spaces and aren't able to, like, capitalize or create off of it, and so when that happens, the team can't be dominant for the full 90 minutes because you wanna bring in an Allende, you wanna keep a Silvetti on the field, like, there's really no reason to take Silvetti off, until the 80th, 90th minute, in my opinion, because I just think he's really dynamic, explosive, and because he's such a threat and he's so, he's really composed and creating, attacking, and dangerous. Well, when he's there, that means that Bertarame and Messi have more opportunity because even though Messi is the one obviously who's always covered, you're worried about Silvetti too, and then you're worried about Bertarame because if Bertarame gets the ball in the 18-yard box, it has a little bit of space, you're worried he's gonna score. He's still a very good striker, it's only his 3rd match there, and so in my opinion, when you remove that and though Allende creates on the right, you're now having a big imbalance because you're not getting that same threat from Segovia, and then it's leaving more people to cover more of the attacking, and that's what kind of, like, stifles Inter Miami, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that Berterame again is still trying to figure out where he wants to play. I think he usually, when you're talking about him in Monterrey, he played more around this role. If
Yeah.
you look at his heat map, he's playing like I would love to bring up. I I would love to actually bring up his heat map if we can. Like he's not playing in the same spots as he was in Mexico. If we do
But I also
Verde,
think that's because the left wing is open because I don't think Segovia is really taking up that space, and so it's either be kind of like this or
look
you
at his
try
heat
and get
map.
into the open space, you
He's
just
got a
try
li-
and find the open space.
Yeah, he's got a little bit here, but look, I mean, he look how much ground he covers. He's all over the place. But I mean, most of that heat map is right on that left side. And I think that a lot of that comes from that, especially in that second half. But the middle is covered by usually you have Telasco, you have Messi who are playing in this area, so it kind of pushes him out wide a lot of times. And look where he's kind of focused on. He's focused more in this area. You'd like
Yeah.
to see your center forward kind of all of this look red here in this area, and it's not. And I just think honestly, It's him trying to figure out a way to be here. But the thing is, again, you have Messi
And
coming
just
in.
trying to
You
get
have
the ball. I think he's just trying to
yeah,
get the ball
Messi
more.
coming in this way. You have
He's, like,
Allende
constantly get
coming in
open.
this way. You have Telasco coming in through the middle. So it basically, if you have these three guys coming in through here, it's going to push Berterame out wide. And I think that that's what he's trying to figure out right now is how do I fit in this offensive system when I'm used to being the only one of the only guys,
Mhm.
or the main guy in this area, right? So
Now,
it'll
do
be
you think it
something
would ever
he
work
figures.
out where, like do you think that Mascherano will ever play Silvetti and Allende at the same time or no? Do you think it's
Well, I
gonna just
told you
be
that's
right
my
all or
that's my
nothing?
dream. I told you
Yeah.
that's my dream, but that was my dream before Segovia started playing this well. And why it
And
was
again,
why
no
was
shade
it
on him, it's no shade on him, it's just positioning that I think has been difficult
look,
for the players
the
to
thing
adapt.
about I think one of the biggest concerns about that is defensively and having
Yeah. Yeah.
Segovia obviously is helping you. He's scoring goals. He's assisting. But one of the things that you have with Segovia is more presence in the midfield. But to that, I'll also say if you pay attention to Silvetti's game, Silvetti does a really good job of getting back. Really good
Yeah.
job. And so I'm
He's
not
a
so worried that if
firecracker.
you have Berterame and you have Allende and you have Silvetti, that you're going to have three guys that stay up. No, Allende and Silvetti do a good job. And if you look at times, sometimes that back line has looked like a back five. Why? Because Silvetti actually gets involved in the defense. He usually will help. If you notice, he'll help Noah Allen
Yeah.
on defense. So what he'll do is and well, I don't even have him here anymore. But when he was here on this left side, and you had, and let me take this. He would basically do this. He would run back, especially on counters. You'd have Noah Allen coming back. You'd have Silvetti trailing, and then when you look at it out of nowhere, you have these guys like this. It would literally look like this. I don't know
Yeah.
if you noticed that. You'd
Yeah.
have
Yeah. Yeah.
and you'd have Silvetti here on the left and basically like a back five. So that's why I wouldn't be necessarily concerned with having Silvetti and Tadeo Allende, because I know that Silvetti is going to track back and he's and look, Silvetti actually, this is going to sound funny, at times tracks back more than Jordi Alba would. And I think that those are some of the issues that we'd have, that Jordi Alba was so good on offense, but there were times where he just couldn't track back. And
Yeah.
look, Noah Allen needs the help. In that second goal, excuse me, in that first goal that DC United scored, um, what's his name? Jackson Hopkins was the guy that actually absolutely burned Noah Allen on that left side, who ended up getting the ball and getting that initial shot that got deflected by St. Clair and then got scored. That was that
Mhm.
first goal. He absolutely got annihilated on that one. And if unfortunately Silvetti wasn't in the best place, but if Silvetti was there, he would have been able to help, and he usually does. So that's one of the reasons why I'm not too concerned with Silvetti being there.
Yeah. I agree, and I mean, really quickly because I wanna move on to a few other things because we're before it gets too late. I think that Noah Allen, outside of that moment, I think he had a much better game than we had seen in Orlando. Obviously, he was pulled at halftime against Orlando. The back 3 probably is not something that can realistically be played all day, every day for these Inter Miami games. I think he did much better. I think the defense overall, I would like to see maybe for the next match, Ian Frey to start over Mura just to see if we see a little bit more, cohesiveness and action. There's obviously so many games left to play, and it'll be interesting to see. But I thought Noah Allen was a bit better, and I like I said earlier, I thought Dan St. Clair was a lot more comfortable and seemed confident as the goalie. So those are positives to take. I think Mascherano needs to look at sort of these last 6 halves, now we can say 3 full games, 6 halves, and be like, "Well, what were the best ones?" It was the second half of the Orlando game and the first half of the DC game, and, like, what can you take from that, and what can you do to be able to keep the attack strong? Because like I said, I think the defense and obviously when you have Yannick Bright and Rodrigo de Paul, I'm not worried about the midfield. What can you do to get the best options in terms of your attack? You know?
Look, this is no, this is something that I tweeted about. Inter Miami, a team that has Matteo Silvetti, a team that has Tadeo Allende, a team that has Berterame, a team that has Messi, and has a surging Rodrigo de Paul. Like, this team has only scored in 2 of the 6 halves. They've been held scoreless in
Yep.
4 of the 6 halves of soccer that or football that they've played so far this season, and I think that that's a bit worrisome. Again, we talk about it's early on in the season, but still, it's not a trend you like to see. 4 halves of the 6 that they've played,
Yeah.
they have not scored, and I think that that's something that Macherano has to figure out sooner than later
Yeah.
because again, you have Champions Cup coming up and you have important games coming up, and it's something he has to figure out. They can't. I mean, you can't just be good one half. Against
Yeah.
Orlando City, they were good in the second half. They were not good in that first half. Against LA, they were good none of the halves. They showed a little bit, in that second half, a little more than they did in that first half. And then against this DC United team, they were only good for the first half, and in the second half, they slowed down offensively. It's just something
Yeah.
that's not sustainable, I think, long term, especially with the aspirations that this team has. So he's got to figure out how these guys can play together in a way that I think is consistent. And some of it has to do with the changes. I'll say that. Granted, again, you have Silvetti that I think has performed very well. And then once you take Silvetti off, and you bring Allende on, it seems like he hasn't figured out a way to tactically position this team for that specific change where there's not a drop in attack. Um, how is he going to figure that out? Again, it's an Allende that's still not at full speed. He's still coming back from an injury, so that may be part
Mhm.
of it. The other part may be this team is. I mean, Silvetti just makes a huge difference on this team, and it's
Huge.
crazy to
Yeah.
say of a young kid like that it makes that much of a difference. But he's going to have to figure that out, and he'll have to do it soon. But this team, with the players that it has on the pitch, with the amount of money it's spent, it really does have to do better on the attacking end to play as we have here, to be dominant for a full 90 minutes, not just 45 minutes. That's just not enough.
Yeah.
It's not being complete.
Agreed. Agreed. Saying they need scheme plays with a true striker. Yeah, you gotta get Bertarame more involved and more chances. And then Ash saying rotate players that fit together to keep them fresh. Agreed. When you have your best available, you have to play them. Don't Mascherano was trying to fit players into places and maybe they're not normally meant to be. Play the players who are there, and are at their best positions, and that's how Inter Miami
Like, I'm
wins.
surprised that Yala hasn't gotten any minutes. That's one surprise for me. I know that he was dealing in one of the games. I believe that he was dealing with
Yeah, the death of
the
his
passing
father,
of
I
a
believe.
family member. Yeah, but other than that, I mean, he hasn't gotten any minutes, which is rather strange. So
It will be
you
interesting
kind of
to
want to
see
see that.
if he gets in. All right, well, next subject I wanna get, which is a little bit of off the field, and we'll just, go through it quickly, but this is an Inter Miami news show and podcast. We have to talk about Inter Miami news. Inter Miami visit the White House and announce the new stadium. So starting with the stadium, obviously, we've known about Miami Freedom Park for a long time now. It was announced last week the naming rights, which goes to NU, which is a financial services platform. I think that's majority. It has hundreds of millions of users, but I think it's from Brazil. And it's just, I think we just have to talk about the fact that what are the chances that that Messi is his final kind of place he's going to play in his career is also new. Obviously spelled differently than where he got most of his, obviously, fame and, best play, which was in the Camp Nou Stadium in Barcelona, spelled N-O-U, but I just think it's really funny and so full circle that he's gonna be playing in the new stadium for Inter Miami.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of talking points I think about that new stadium. One is definitely
It's funny,
how
new,
neat
like
it
you're
is.
saying new.
It's new, Camp Nou, yeah. So that's interesting how life works out. I mean, he got kicked out of the Camp Nou to come to the Stadium New or New Stadium or whatever it is. So
Exactly, exactly.
that's funny. And then the other thing is, Orlando City said we're gonna name ours Inter and Co.
Inter, yeah.
And then Inter Miami was like, we'll one up you. We'll take your colors and put it on our stadium. So
I know, the purple,
because
yeah.
it's purple. So I thought that was an interesting choice. I just wondered, like, the decision makers behind the naming
I
rights
think
for
he's
these.
gonna pay the
Like,
most.
I mean, no, I know, but I feel like there should be
More,
a
yeah.
factor in there. Like, okay, it's how much you pay, and let's maybe not play towards one of the attributes or something of our biggest in-state rival. But hey, they're trying to one up each other, so let's see what they do next.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting. So, but yeah, new stadium, and it's
We're gonna
free.
be
I
saying
guess
that so much,
I guess the
new and
park.
new.
Yeah, I guess the park is Freedom Park, and the stadium is new stadium. But yeah, that'll be it, and hopefully it'll be a lot of championships in new stadium. Um,
Yeah,
so I mean, at
agreed.
least the purple kind of matches the pink a little bit, right? So
It does look cool. Like, I mean,
yeah,
we're now less than a month from opening, and we're both obviously really, really excited. Um, New stadium, I'll take it. It will definitely be new, and it'll be exciting to see. And then really quickly, we're not a political show. We're not gonna get political. I don't think we need to go into the details of what was said and everything like that, but obviously, it was big news and global news at Inter Miami as the reigning MLS champions, which is a tradition in US sports and American sports, visited the White House, to meet with the president and, celebrate the fact that they were champions. I think we can say in general the world right now is it's a crazy place. Everyone has lots of opinions and things like that. I think that we both agree that um I like the tradition of players going to the White House. I think just like in general it's a cool part of, American sports and just like the history of sports. The details and the logistics and what was said, this, that, and the other can be its own debate. But it was certainly an interesting day, and it was interesting to see what was said and how people felt, but it did check off the box of what is you win a championship in the United States, that's what you do, right?
yeah, I love that they were there. Like I said, I've been through many presidents in my lifetime, and if I was on a sports team, it doesn't matter who I voted for. If my president is inviting me to the White House, I would have been there regardless. I would have been to every president's White House over the last 30 something years that I've been alive. I think it's so cool. It's such a cool tradition. You got to think about these guys have seen this in movies,
Right.
Independence Day, like they've seen it
Right.
everywhere. And to have the ability to actually be there in person, that must be so surreal, right? To actually be walking in those walls and those floors and it's just those hallways just filled with so much history.
Yeah.
It's definitely an honor, and I loved to have seen them there at the White House. And they all looked happy. Messi was smiling, as always, a little awkward. He's awkward. He doesn't like to
I'm
be the
not sure if he
focal
understood
the focal
everything that was
point.
being said.
You know? But I mean, he must have he was laughing. So I don't know if
Yeah,
he's been taking some inglés sin barreras or what he's been doing, but he was having a good time. The Paul was laughing. I thought it was cool. Ryan Saylor was there. I don't know if you noticed. I think
offense cult.
Fafa
Yep,
Picoult was also there. So it was cool to bring the gang back and see them all there. And they had a good time. So it was cool. It was definitely cool to see it there. And I hope every team that wins,
totally.
regardless of who's in there, what year it is, that they all have the opportunity to go in and be in such a historic and meaningful place here in this
Yeah,
country.
it is a cool part about American sports. Like, I remember when we were growing up with, like, the Heat, when the Heat went to the White House, all those times that they won
Yeah.
the championship and the funny videos and clips I used to see of LeBron. I remember there was, like, a clip of what was it, Michelle Obama talking to someone, and they were talking about, like and then, like, Chris they dunked on, like, a little mini hoop that was
Oh,
over
yeah,
one
yeah,
of
yeah,
their
yeah.
heads. Do you remember that?
Yeah, yeah,
That
that
was
was
funny,
cool, that
yeah,
was
yeah.
cool. A lot
Oh,
of
yeah,
cool
I agree.
moments, and it's something that these guys will never forget, so,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
It was like yeah, and I mean, one thing I'll say though is that I don't think Lionel Messi expected Ronaldo's name to be mentioned, at his visit to the White House, but you know what? What are you gonna do?
That's
It's,
funny. Funny.
it's, hindsight's 2020 with that. He's like, "No, no, no, this is about me." But yeah, so it was news, of course, and champions do what champions do. So we move forward with that. And that Inter Miami should have brought Arepas with them to the White House. Yeah, well, I mean, it was definitely, I'm sure, a lot of cool culture seeing that, and it is an institution of America. So 100%. Last but not least, to wrap up the show, CONCACAF Champions Cup preview against Nashville. We talked about it earlier. Um, that this Wednesday already, it takes like it comes before you even realize it. Uh, they're playing in 2 days versus Nashville, a team we play so often that man, Messi just loves to play against them. And we're going here now to try and take our our Champions Cup dream further and make it to the finals, win the trophy that we have been wanting to win in this international tournament. Um, Really quick, just what are your thoughts? Like, it's gonna be away in Nashville, it's gonna be a difficult environment, but, you know, are Inter Miami gonna be able to kind of brush off that second half where you saw Messi immediately at full time walk into the tunnel? The vibes weren't great from the team. Um, are they gonna be able to kind of get their feet back and finish it off?
Yeah, look, Inter Miami has won 5 of the last 6 matches they've had with Nashville. It seems like we see Nashville 10 times a season. It's incredible. It's like there's something about that team that we just have to face them in every tournament and multiple times.
Just and
Uh,
everything we face them, yeah.
and everything, yeah, everything. So, but again, we have the upper hand. We've beat them 5 times in the last 6 games, and right now they're not too bad. They're currently in second place in the East, two wins, one draw, just like us. We're actually right behind them in third. They actually have a 5 goal difference. They've scored 7 goals. They only received 2 against, so they're doing much better than us in that aspect. And I just think that it's going to be a difficult team to play. I mean, I feel like it's always most of the time it's difficult. I know last time we played, we beat them. I believe it was maybe 4-0 or something like that. I can't
Mhm.
remember exactly the last time we played them.
Luis Suarez
Um,
got suspended.
at
I
least
remember that.
yes, he was suspended, but yeah, they're a tough team. They really are. They're a tough team to be, and they're always a
Yeah, this
fun
is
matchup. I think the stakes are always high anytime we play them. The matchups are tough. They've got good players on their team. They have Sam Surridge, Hani Mukhtar. We know are 2 really good attackers.
heard those names so many times in the
Sam
last few
Surridge
years.
has scored on us quite a few times. Hani Mukhtar, especially on that left side, is going to be, I think, a tough matchup for well, it depends. Is it going to be Ian Frey that slots in, or is it going to continue to be Facundo Mura? I think that'll be a tough matchup for Facundo Mura. Sam Surge against Falcon and Mikael. Espinosa on that left-hand side against Noah Allen. And then in the middle, they have Yazbek that plays well as well. So, I mean, they've got a lot of good players, and I think that it'll be a fun match to go. But Inter Miami, I think here, more than anything, will have to continue to be good defensively. That's where, this team
Yeah.
has ached in the past. So I think that if they can continue to have a strong back line, but we'll have to see how he comes out. Is he going to come out and still play that back three with Mura going up, or is he going to have a little bit more respect with Sam Surge and Hayden Mukhtar there, where he's going to have maybe Facundo Mura play a bit deeper and make sure he's more a part of the defense than playing so high up and maybe leaving a space in the back with Henry Mukhtar there. And Rodrigo de Paul, I think, is going to be a huge factor here, as well as Yannick Bright. This is
Yeah.
this is a tough matchup and a team that's scoring a lot of goals this season. On the other end, the attack, I don't think the attack that we had against LAFC and the attack that we've had in that first half against Orlando and in that second half against DC United is enough to beat this Nashville team. They're going to have to consistently be a team that attacks well against like they did in that second half against Orlando City. So we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this was a good point. Orlando and DC, and looking at now, especially how Orlando got creamed in their game Saturday. These teams aren't as good as Nashville. Um, and Inter Miami still had some troubles with them, so this will be a big test. Real Deal said this game against Nashville is going to answer a lot of questions. I think so too. I think at this point, Javier Mascherano has had enough of a sample size and be able to see enough good and enough, not good from the team to be able to know what who he should be playing, how they should be playing, what spaces they should be taking up, in order to win against good teams on the road. That's what a championship team does, and we expect to see the same from them. And so it will be interesting to see, what this team does and if they're able to kind of quiet the I don't know about quiet the haters, but like we said, can they dominate for 90 minutes? Can they stay consistent? Can they continuously attack? Can they defend well and show that they're, the best team in the league, the best team in the continent?
Yeah, I mean, I'll agree with Boss there, 85. I'm not necessarily afraid of Nashville either, but they are the second hardest team that they've played so far in this early season. They played against LAFC
Right.
with two guys up front in Son and Buonga. Then they played against an Orlando City team that got scored on in the second half simply because they started to play, they kind of parked the bus a little bit, and they're really not that good of a team. And we came back and scored four. And then this DC United game, I think that's where I was a little bit nervous simply because I think we should have destroyed this team. This team
Yeah.
was last place in the East last season. I mean, we should have absolutely that should have been the team we scored 4 goals against, and we scored two and then couldn't score any in the second half. And then now you're going to face again Sam Surge and Hani Mukhtar, which is the closest thing you have to mirror what happened against LAFC with two top guys up at the front, right? So it'll be a test on that defensive side, and we'll really see now what that midfield is made of as well. Again, with
Mhm.
Nepal and with Yannick Bright, I think those two guys are going to be key in this game to disrupt everything going through the middle. And Facundo Mura is going to have, if he starts instead of Ian Frey, he's going to have quite the job on his hands, along with Noah Allen on that left side.
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed. Well, and then as Lionel said, at the end of the day, we have Messi. Enough said. Like, I agree. I think we need to see the rest of the team and everything work out too, but when as long as Messi is on my team and playing, I feel good about it. Um, and yeah, let's wrap up the show now. A great show. Again, I loved the visual aids you provided there,
Mhm.
Gianna. I think it made it really fun to
I'm glad.
discuss and be able to kind of like see, the players and the setup and the things we talked about. So yeah, it was a good week. Like we said, lots happening for Inter Miami. We got the win, ups and downs so far this season, but it's just now important to uh, continue with the momentum, see a good result over the weekend, keep building and moving forward. And look, man, we're now like 3 weeks away from the opening of the new stadium, which we're super excited about. And also only like 3 months away from the World Cup, which is really crazy when you think about it. But season's just starting. Great having you guys. We're gonna keep doing the show every Monday at 6 p.m. It's been super fun. Lots more to come. And we hope everyone has a great rest of their week and is hopefully enjoying a little bit more daylight now that they have it wherever you are. So thank you guys. Yeah, it's been great. Any last thoughts, Gian?
No, thank you guys for tuning in. Really appreciate all the comments. It helps the flow of the show, and I love to hear your feedback. Sometimes we say things that maybe are more personal opinions of what's fact, and vice versa. And we have our opinions, but it's cool to hear you guys, and I really appreciate you guys tuning in. And I can't wait for our next show next Monday.
Me too. All right. Well, for this episode of Messi and Co, I'm Ashley. That is Gian, and we will see you next time.
See you guys.